Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today, we're going to be taking a look at one of the best handhelds ever released. This is the Nvidia Shield. And yeah, it's 2026 right now. The Nvidia Shield handheld was released July 31st, 2013, making this handheld 12 years and 7 months old. So it's almost a 13-year-old handheld gaming device. And in this video, I wanted to see if it was still usable in 2026. Does it hold up? I'm not sure if it will or not, but there's probably some people out there that aren't familiar with the Shield handheld. This was released by Nvidia to show off the power of their new Tegra chips. And when the Tegra chips launched, they kind of made a wave even back then. We had a really good performing little ARM CPU with an awesome Nvidia GPU built in. And there was really nothing that could touch it at the time when you're talking about a mobile chip. It was $299 when it launched, and we kind of freaked out because a $300 handheld gaming device like this, we weren't sure exactly, what to think about that. But now if you look, we're seeing handhelds releasing from $800, $900, even up to $4,000 with some of the newer ones hitting the market. So back then, this was a pretty decent deal, especially given what you could do with this thing at the time. Taking a look at the overall design here, when it first launched, it definitely looked very futuristic. We hadn't seen anything like this on the market yet. And today, when it comes to comfortability, this still holds up. It's a very comfortable handheld. We have those symmetrical analog sticks at the bottom, which does seem a bit odd given that we see a lot of different handhelds out there in kind of the candy bar style, but I do still like this design. Buttons feel awesome. We've got that big Nvidia button right there in the middle. Home button, back button. There's also a dedicated volume button, which will bring up an on-screen menu so you can change the volume. D-pad is a bit lackluster, and it was when it launched, but it could definitely get you by. It's just not the best D-pad out there. Front-firing stereo speakers, and even today, these still sound good when you compare them to cheaper handhelds out there on the market. Well, even handhelds that kind of matched this price point when it launched at $299 almost 13 years ago. It's got a 5-inch 720p IPS touch display, and when this thing came out, I didn't hear anybody complaining about it. It's only 60 hertz, but that's kind of what we got back then. And around back, it's got this rubberization to it, and you can see this one's a bit torn up because it's a well-used unit. But even then, it still offers a lot of grip. Taking a look at the back side of the unit, we've got our triggers, our shoulder buttons. There's also a 3.5mm audio jack. You charge this up over a micro USB. Again, it's almost 13 years old, and we've got mini HDMI out. This had a built-in console mode, so you could play on the big screen with it. It does have active cooling, so there's a built-in fan here, and when it comes to the overall specs, this is powered by the Nvidia Tegra 4 CPU. It's a quad-core unit, and it'll clock up to 1.9 gigahertz. It had a 72-core Nvidia GeForce GPU built in, which was kind of the main claim to fame when it launched. 2 gigs of LP DDR3 RAM, 16 gigabytes of internal storage, plus a micro SD card around back. 5-inch 720p IPS display, a 28.8 watt-hour battery. It ran Android 4.2 out of the box, but later on you could upgrade to 5.1, 802.11 Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth 5.3, and it's coming in at 573 grams. So this was actually the only one they released, but there were some prototypes of the Shield 2 floating around. This is one I've always wanted to get my hands on, and a few of them did get listed on eBay a while ago, but I haven't seen one since. I just didn't have the money to buy it at the time. It featured the Tegra X1 CPU, something along the lines of what we see in the Shield TV unit. Jumping right in here with the Shield Portable, even to this day, it's got a lot of emulation covered. You go with that lower end stuff, there are thousands and thousands of games that are going to play just fine on this unit. Again, the built-in controls here are pretty solid. Even going up to something like PlayStation, not a problem to do so, even with a harder to emulate game. We've got Bloody Roar 2 here. I'm using RetroArch with the rearm core, and I did have to disable the music inside of the game, but with PlayStation, it's basically got the whole library covered. And PlayStation emulation has never really been something that we kind of worried about on a lot of devices for a very long time. But when this released, one thing we really wanted to see was good N64 emulation. And even now, to this day, with all of the software updates to the emulator, not the unit itself, we still get some stutters here and there with N64 emulation. I've tested a few standalone, I've tested RetroArch cores. And no matter what I do, there are games here that are just going to kind of struggle a bit. But I did notice going over to like the standalone MuPin 64, we do see better performance with a lot of the stuff that struggled when this thing released, like 007 GoldenEye. Not perfect by any means. When there's a ton of explosions on screen, this thing still dips down. It's going to glitch out a bit. But N64 emulation has definitely come a long way, and it would be nice if we still got internal software updates for the Shield Portable, but unfortunately that stopped a long time ago. Like I mentioned, this launched with Android 4.2, and we only got updates to Android 5.1. So there's a lot of stuff missing here that we could see on a device like this, and it really comes down to just lack of hardware, only 2 gigs of RAM, and that older Tegra 4 CPU. And one thing I'm really interested in is just seeing what kind of uplift we're getting with newer chips versus this. So a very popular handheld that a lot of people want to get their hands on is the Odin 3. It's powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite, really amazing device. And the only benchmark that I could get to run on both of these devices due to Android operating system differences was Antutu. So on the Shield Portable with the Nvidia Tegra 4, we scored a 36,487. And on the AYN Odin 3 with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, that's up to 2,732,000. I've seen some people score a bit higher. And keep in mind, with the Antutu benchmark, this is more of a full system test, so it does go over the CPU, GPU, RAM, and storage. But when it comes down to it, at least with this benchmark, the AYN Odin 3 is 75 times faster than the Nvidia Shield Portable, which is pretty crazy to think about. But again, the Shield Portable is sitting on 13 years old now. One thing we did get when the Shield released were some kind of proprietary or official Android ports of some really awesome games like Half-Life 2, and this did come with its own kind of Nvidia Tegra app store, and unfortunately you can't access it anymore. We can still use Google Play on this, but you're going to find that a lot of the newer apps just won't even install due to the age of the operating system on this thing. But a lot of those games that were released specifically for these Tegra devices ran really well. I mean, they were optimized specifically for these chips. I've got Half-Life 2 here. I think Borderlands was also released. And if I remember correctly, it wasn't the best performer even then. I mean, it was supposedly optimized for the Tegra chip, but these source games from Valve ran amazingly on the Tegra 4 for sure. At the time, it was absolutely crazy to be running Half-Life 2 on a handheld device. GeForce Now also came to the Shield Portable, which would allow us to use cloud gaming here from Nvidia servers. But the app needs to be updated on this, and from the App Store, it will not allow me to update it. So I can't use GeForce Now anymore on the Shield Portable. But if you wanted to stream from your own PC, you could do it using something like Moonlight or Steam Link. And I'll tell you, Steam Link still works really well on this, at least 60 FPS, 720p streaming over. It does have 2x2 and Wi-Fi, and I'm just connecting to a local PC in the house. So I'm connecting to my laptop right now, and we've got that nice big picture mode going here. I can stream all of these games, and they work really well on my home network. And whenever I'm using Steam Link or Moonlight on any device, whatever device I'm streaming from, which in this case is my gaming laptop, I always use a wired connection over there just to kind of alleviate any extra Wi-Fi bugs going on. Here's Cyberpunk 2077 streaming from my gaming laptop using Steam Link, and I'm pretty impressed by how good it feels. A little bit of latency here and there, but that's kind of a given. And I do use that wired connection over on the device I'm streaming from just to kind of hopefully not get as much latency there. But it's pretty awesome that, Steam Link itself is still supported over here. And you could also use Moonlight if you're not into using Steam Link. It's going to work just as well. So overall, I mean, using the Shield Portable in 2026 isn't the best experience for sure. We've got an older Android operating system, a very low-end Tegra 4 CPU by today's standards, but there's still a lot of things that we could do with this. It's not something that I would recommend running out and buying. But if you find one for a decent deal under 50 bucks, it'd be pretty cool to pick one up and just kind of mess around with it. You're not going to get a ton of high-end emulation done on this, but there's still thousands and thousands of games that are going to run on this. And from Google Play itself, there are Android games that are still compatible with Android 5.1. They are kind of few and far in between, but it doesn't take that much to run a lot of those Android games anyway. and they'll work on this device. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you like to see a new Nvidia Shield portable hit the market? I think it would be pretty cool, even with kind of the same design, the flip-up screen obviously would be a bit more modern, but having that flip-up display would be awesome. If you've got any questions about this thing, let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.